You're listening to Give Yourself Some Leeway with me, your host, Eugene Lee. I've spent the last 4 years trying to discover how to break the burnout cycle. And as a high achiever in a fast-paced world, it's very easy to slip into the old habits that leave you feeling overwhelmed and left behind. And if you're anything like me, then you need to hear this. It's not your fault. Each episode is dedicated to breaking the stigma around mental health in the workplace, ending burnout culture for good, and the action steps that you can take today to do your part towards personal growth and success. And I'm so happy that you are here today. So following last week's episode on the common misconceptions around burnout, I wanted to help clarify where people felt that they had a misunderstanding of what burnout really meant and some of the conflicting beliefs they had around burnout. So I want to do a quick recap and maybe help to clarify some of the key points of last week's episode of the misconceptions. So the first one is that burnout doesn't start when you start feeling tired, when you start feeling exhausted from burnout. That's not the start. That's usually the end of the downward spiral before complete full-blown burnout, when you're so emotionally, physically, and mentally exhausted that you just feel numb to everything and you don't know how to process those feelings anymore, that you don't know how to show up for work, you don't know how to actually make key decisions. Burnout starts a long time before that, usually with a habit of people pleasing or overgiving or overextending yourself to take care of others and not take the time to take care of yourself. This is such a common misconception that people believe that they're not burning out until they hit rock bottom, instead of realizing that they've been conditioned with these behaviors maybe as a child, that they were the caregiver, that they were taking care of younger siblings and they've carried that now into their adult life, that they feel that they need to people please because they were always maybe they were the eldest child and needed a host for the family, or they always had to take care of the younger siblings, and they feel that that's their fulfillment, that's their way of achieving purpose, that they must always please others around them, otherwise they're a failure. And when it comes to burnout recovery, this is the second most conflicted misconception. People believe that, when it comes to recovering from burnout, or maybe you're just a little bit stressed and you just need to take some time off, and you'll be fine. Take a week off, take a week or two off, and you'll be fine. You'll be back to normal. You just need some rest. Get a good night's sleep. That's not the case with burnout. Burnout is after a state of chronic stress over a long period of time. For me, it was over a period of 5 years before I completely burnt out, before it just became too much. And you can't cure or fix something that has been going on for the past 5 years with 2 or 3 weeks rest. You need to address the underlying problems. You need to break the cycle, break the habits that got you to that state in the first place. I think one good example that people see this burnout as an invisible problem, and it was when I sprained my ankle, and it was a repetitive strain injury. It was because of not taking care of my ankle for years on end, when it finally, the ligaments just wore down. And only because I had crutches or bandages that people were like, oh, you have an injury, you need to take care of that. But as soon as I put down the crutches, people were like, oh, you're not using the crutches anymore. I want you to do A, B, and C. I want you to go up this flight of stairs. I'm like, no, I can't, because I have to nurse this injury back to full recovery. And because they didn't see the crutches, because they couldn't see it visibly, they were like, oh no, you've taken your time off. You've taken 2 or 3 weeks off. Now you're back to normal. Same as that repetitive strain injury with the ankle. It took about maybe 6 to 8 months before that was somewhat back to normal. Same with burnout. It can take even longer than 6 months. For me, it was a recovery journey of over 3 years before I could feel I was somewhat back to normal, and a new normal as such. That now that I was fully aware of the boundaries I needed to set so that I wouldn't fall back into burnout again. And that's the third point. There's this fear after burning out that you're going to go into a relapse, that fear of a burnout relapse happening. Because if you don't address the underlying issues, the underlying behaviors that led to the burnout in the first place, once you go back to the workplace or back to all the duties you had before you burnt out, you're going to fall back into the same cycle and probably go on a much deeper downward spiral if you don't recognize the issues and set those boundaries. Start treating yourself with compassion and take time to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. You need to make sure that you're embracing that fear of relapse and taking it seriously, because you don't want to fall back into that place again. And if you can face those old habits, those old behaviors of people pleasing, of perfectionism, all these self-sabotaging behaviors that come with burning out, if you can face this with the right tools and strategies, then you can stop yourself not only from burning out, but you can pave your way to a much healthier and much healthier life and show up better for others by showing up first for yourself. I really hope this made sense to you, because some people found it very confusing that, yes, there were a lot of misconceptions that they believed to be true. And I really hope this helps to make you more aware of what burnout really is, how it can really affect people. Because if people don't understand it, they feel like their emotions are being seen as invalid. It undermines the validity of what they're feeling. If you're feeling burnt out and someone tells you that, oh, it's just stress, you'll get over that, take the weekend off. And you're like, no, this is something that's very seriously wrong. And if people undermine it or downplay it, it can leave you feeling like, oh, maybe I'm overreacting. I know I'm exhausted, but maybe this isn't it. Maybe I am a bit just under the weather, or maybe I'm just exhausted. Maybe I need a bit of time off. Why am I not performing to the extent that I was before? And that can lead to not reaching out and seeking help, because you're blaming yourself for feeling this way. And you're not reaching out to loved ones to say, look, I need to take a step back. I need to take care of myself. I need to change old behaviors. And it can be very hard to find those supports. So that's why everyone needs to be more aware. Are you experiencing burnout? Is someone you know experiencing burnout? How can you start that conversation with them? How can you see if they're okay? If you want help recognizing the early signs of burnout, you can pick up my ebook, Shine a Light on Burnout, here in the show notes. Well, I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you want to dive deeper, you can always reach out at giveyourselfsomeleeway.com. You can reach out on social media there, or you can email me at eugene@leeway.ie. Thank you for listening, and until next time, take care.